welcome back. This is Jared from 3C's Recreation. Today we have a 2021 Beta 350 Race Edition. We're going to do the new water pump install kit. It's pretty cool. Beta has a whole kit. This is my friend Matt's bike, Matt Stebbins. He's got our name all over it, which is super cool. This is his old water pump. I guess I can pull the computer up and tell you how much time is on it. It's got one full race season on it, so let's say like 3 hours a race. So it's got like probably like 45, 50 hours on this bike. But this was his water pump, and it's hard to tell on the GoPro. It doesn't, maybe you guys can see this, but you can see like the grooves in there on the backside. It's worn pretty good. So we're gonna go in and redo the whole thing. When he pulled his apart, he said he mentioned he didn't see, and I didn't pull it apart, we brought it in like this. The washer wasn't on the back side of it, so the kit comes with everything that you're gonna need to rebuild this, and I'll show you guys that. So down here on the counter, we've got our tools pretty much ready. The coolant's already been drained out of this bike. We're gonna drain the oil, so you've got your 13mm on the bottom for that. And we're just draining the gear oil side. We're not doing the engine side on this bike. And then here's the kit, everything that came with it. We've got the stuff in this package here, the new water pump itself, the new gasket, or seal, and then the outer gasket. Because we're gonna leave the smaller clutch cover on the inner. So the first thing I already did is I pulled the brake out of the way. I just like to get that out of the way. The directions don't say that you have to, but more room the better. So we pulled that out so we can pull this directly out the side. So the first thing we'll do is we're gonna drain the gear oil. That way that can be out of our way. And keep in mind that's the back bolt, it's a 13mm here. The front one is for your engine oil. We don't have to drain that. So we'll drain the oil first, and then we'll pop the cover off the side here. Okay, as you can see, his water pump's already in my hand, and there would normally be that seal gasket around the outside here. And at this point, you would want to unscrew this nut while it's still on the bike. And now we can go ahead and remove the inner clutch cover case off the inner case there. So now it's just a bunch of 8mm bolts that go all the way around here. We'll get these pulled off next. So we've got our cover pulled off, and this is where the whole job is going to be, is inside this cover. But the first thing that I want to recommend you guys is to reinstall your drain plug at this time. It's 15 foot-pounds on the Beta stuff, and whatever your model is, refer to your manual. But I'm going to reinstall the drain plug, and we're going to get that torqued in there so we don't forget to do it later. So we'll do that next. Alright, so here's our clutch cover assembly. And just for you guys at home, if you guys are doing hard racing, like this bike, AA, local races, so it's been ridden, but it shouldn't, you know, how hard it's been ridden shouldn't determine water pump like this failure. So if you guys are at home and you're getting some time on your bikes, it's really cheap to pull your cover off, even just the water pump cover, just this one, buy a new gasket, and then just pull your water pump off and have a look at it, make sure it's not wearing like this one, because you can see, and I know the GoPro doesn't focus at all, but it's grooving pretty good under the case there. It's almost like he did not have a washer at all. So check yours at home. If you don't have a washer, call me at 3C's. We can sell you one of these kits, or call your local Beta dealer. So all we have to do now is we're going to push the shaft out the back. We're going to pull the spacer out. We're going to pop the seal out. We're going to push both of these bearings out. We'll put new bearings in, new seal, new spacer, new shaft. So I'll walk you guys through that next.
His dad bought
Alright, so I got the old bearings, they're pulled out. We got the old spacer and the old seal here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to repress in our new bearings. And Beta wants these flush with the case. And you can see there's a little step inside of here on both sides. So we're going to push it in. It's going to hit that little ledge in there. And then same on the outside, there's a little lip that it's going to rest against. So just hit until it feels flush there, and then quit hitting on it. So we'll get the bearings pushed in, and then we'll get the new seal installed. So the next step, we've got the bearings pushed in. The next step is to make sure you have the seal facing the correct way. And it's very specific in the directions that they want the outside lip of the seal, the thicker part, needs to be facing out. You can see, maybe not in the GoPro, but if you get a new set, that it's a lot thinner on this side and it's thicker on this side here. So we're going to grease the inner and the outer, and I'll press this in there next. Okay, now that we got our seal pushed in, we're going to reinstall the new shaft, but first we have to put this little O-ring on it. It comes in the kit. They want it greased, so we did that. We just have to slide it down over until it gets to the correct groove. Now that our O-ring is installed, we can push the shaft through the back of it here. We'll install it all the way, and you can tell it's installed whenever it bottoms out on the bottom of that bearing. We can now install our new spacer, and they want this greased as well. Now that the spacer is installed, we can put our washer on here. We can set our impeller on there as well. And keep in mind that this is grooved. It has to sit on here a certain way. So we're just going to set that on there for now, and we're going to torque this once we get it on the bike. So the next thing I'm going to do is reinstall the assembly on here, and then we'll install our nut and torque everything down. Okay, so we just went ahead and we peeled the old gasket off. And it's important to go ahead and use a new gasket because they've got a nice sealer up by the water pump here. I think if you pull your old gasket off, a lot of the blue will still be stuck to the outer cover. So I would recommend just replacing it. There's the dowel pins right here and on the back that'll help balance this gasket, keep it centered. So that's what we have to do next, is just install this gasket here. We'll get it on there, and then as we install this cover, our water pump might not be perfectly lined up with where it needs to insert. So you can kind of spin the impeller, and it'll help it line up here. So we'll get this shoved down next. Now that we got our outside bolts all installed, we can get our nut on the impeller. We're going to put blue Loctite on the threads, and then we're going to torque it to 6 Newton meters. It's important to keep going tighter with this. You might, when you first do it, you might think you bottomed out, but what's really happening is the impeller needs to suck all the way onto the shaft and seat properly. So like I kept going nicely with it, and you'll find yourself, now you'll find a bottom. You're not going to strip it out. It's a strong thread right on the impeller itself, on the shaft. So go ahead and make sure that's tight when you put that back on. The next step is reinstalling our cover. This is the old gasket. We're obviously going to get rid of that. The kit came with a new one. We already used some Scotch-Brite, and we cleaned up the edges here, and we cleaned up the edges on the bike as well. So we're going to reinstall this new cover. Don't forget that your bottom bolt has to have that crush washer on it. That's so you can drain the fluid. That's got to be on there. So we'll get this reinstalled next. All right, so we got our water pump cover bolts back on. The next thing we'll do is put some oil in here, and then we'll get some coolant back in it. There's no on the coolant, there is not a check plug or anything, or a bleed on any of it, so you just fill the coolant like you need to, and then we'll wrap this thing up. All right, thanks for watching. This was Jared from 3C's Recreation. We just finished the water pump upgrade install kit. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe to our channel. Also, if you need Beta parts, I'd love to be your dealer. I'd love to work with you. We can drop ship right from Beta. I offer discounts on all of our parts. If you need this kit, give me a call. Our phone number is in the description below. Again, Jared at 3C's. Thanks for watching.